Paul Kagame, today I speak in the name of millions of Africans who no longer accept the spilled blood and the repeated lies. Today, I am not simply speaking to a head of state. I am speaking to the one who believes he can manipulate the people and hide the truth behind diplomatic smiles. Goma, a wounded city, a region martyred by wars that are not ours. And yet you, Kagame, you have chosen to be part of this tragedy. The DRC, rich in its men, its women, its youth, has become a playground for your ambitions. You believe that nobody would watch, that nobody would speak, but Africa is watching and Africa is speaking. Every child who cries in Goma, every torn family, every lost life, these voices rise up and say, we will not forget, we will not forgive. Kagame, you are responsible. Your actions will not go unnoticed. And today, I stand here to put the truth before your eyes and before the world. We will speak of facts, of evidence, of your decisions that have led to suffering. We will speak of the African youth that you believe to be weak and silent. But Africa is not weak. Africa no longer remains silent, and I warn you, nothing and no one can stop this awakening. Paul Kagame, listen carefully because what I want to say cannot be ignored or erased. Goma is not just a city. Goma is the symbol of a tragedy that you have nurtured. Every attack, every forced displacement, every bomb, every stolen life, all of this has a name, and that name is your policy, your strategy, your tacit orders that have plunged the population into horror. You pretended to want regional stability, but your actions have sown chaos. Reports, testimonies, irrefutable evidence show that you have supported, armed, financed groups that have terrorized the population of Goma. Families have been separated, children have been traumatized forever. And all this for what gain? To reinforce your influence at the expense of human life. Paul Kagame, look at these faces. These men, these women, these children are not numbers on a diplomatic report. They are souls. Souls who have seen death, souls who cry for justice, souls who will never forgive. And you believed you could manipulate the narratives, whitewash your messages behind international meetings, smiles and hollow speeches. But Africa does not forget. The international community cannot ignore what is happening in Goma. And today, I speak for these voices that you believed you could silence. You thought the world would look away. You thought Africa would remain passive. But your arrogance blinds you. Kagame, the hour of truth has arrived. Every act, every choice, every strategy that you have conducted will be exposed, analyzed, understood, and the peoples of Africa will see who is behind this spilled blood. You must know that Africa is awakening. The youth no longer content themselves with watching. The peoples will no longer accept manipulation, violence, and injustice. And I stand before you and before the world to say what happened in Goma, we will never forget. You are warned. Every injustice has its witnesses, every crime has its echo, and the echo of Goma will resonate until justice is done. Paul Kagame, listen to me attentively. Your actions in Goma are not isolated. They have repercussions that go beyond the DRC, that go beyond even the Great Lakes region. They threaten the balance of all of Central Africa and turn peoples against each other. As you have chosen to manipulate the conflicts in Goma, you have not only attacked a city, you have attacked the sovereignty of the DRC. You have weakened the institutions. You have sown mistrust between African brothers. You have played with blood, with dignity, with the future of a people, and you believe that nobody would react. But Africa is awakening. Africa refuses to be the terrain of your ambitions. The peoples who suffer in Goma, in Butembo, in Beni, they are the reflection of our collective strength, and we will no longer accept being manipulated or instrumentalized to satisfy your personal or political interests. Paul Kagame, look around you. The African youth are watching, analyzing, and understanding. They know that unity is our only weapon against those who seek to divide. Africa must remain united, solid, and unshakable. The strength of our continent is not measured by our riches, nor by our weapons, but by our unity. I speak today to remind everyone that foreign or regional interference that is done under the cover of diplomacy or so-called security must no longer be tolerated. We must protect our people, our lands, and our dignity. And I say it loud and clear, every action of manipulation, every interference that aims to weaken an African country will be denounced. We will shed light on every crime, we will expose every truth, and we will defend our brothers and sisters with the strength of all of Africa. Goma is a symbol of suffering, but also a symbol of awakening. Every cry, every tear, every stolen life becomes a flame that reignites the conscience of Africa. Kagame, know this, your arrogance will not make us fall. Africa is rising, and your bloody hand in Goma will not remain unpunished. Brothers and sisters of Africa, what we are experiencing in Goma is a call to action. We must walk together, speak together, defend together, because together we are invincible. Together we can demand justice, restore truth, and protect our peoples. Paul Kagame, listen to me clearly. I am not speaking in generalities. I am speaking of facts. I am speaking of responsibility. I am speaking of complicity in Goma. The violence is not the fruit of chance. The alliances you have woven, the groups you have supported, the decisions you have made, all of this constitutes a direct chain of responsibility. Every attack, every forced displacement, every sacrificed life has been influenced by your choices, your strategy, and your political calculation. You believed you could hide your hand behind diplomacy and alliances. You believed you could use the fragility of others to reinforce your power. But I tell you today, nothing remains hidden forever. The truth always emerges, and in Goma, this truth cries your name. The peoples of Africa are not naive. The youth of Africa are not fooled. They see your maneuvers, your manipulations, and your ambitions that pass above human life. And I, in the name of Africa that is awakening, I denounce this complicity. I denounce your role in every crime, every injustice, every tear shed in Goma. But beyond the accusation, I launch an appeal to all Africans who believe in justice, in dignity, and in unity. It is time to rise up, to organize, to refuse that leaders or personal interests dictate the destiny of our peoples. It is time to show that Africa will never again be the theater of your bloody ambitions. Kagame, know this. You cannot divide this continent without consequences. You cannot manipulate our brothers and sisters without resistance. Every act of violence, every interference, every attempt at domination now encounters the awakened soul of Africa. Goma is not an isolated city. Goma is a message that we all understand. Africa must remain sovereign, united, and vigilant. And this message, Kagame, I transmit it to you directly. Your crimes in Goma will not go unnoticed. Your manipulations will not remain unpunished. Brothers and sisters, rise up. Africa can no longer accept that some play with our blood and our lives. Africa will no longer fall, and together we will ensure that justice and truth triumph. Paul Kagame, listen to me one last time before I continue this message for all of Africa. If you think that your maneuvers in Goma will remain unpunished, you are gravely mistaken. Every action you undertake to divide, manipulate, or control the African people brings consequences. You have already sown fear and suffering in Goma, but know that the strength of Africa is not measured by the violence you inflict. It is measured by our capacity to unite, to resist, and to protect what is ours. I address you so that you understand this. Continuing on this path will only accelerate the awakening of the continent. Every interference, every attempt at domination will be confronted by an awakened Africa, conscious of its dignity and its strength. And this awakening is not only political or diplomatic, it is social, cultural, moral. It is in the heart of every African who refuses to see their people suffer needlessly. To my African brothers and sisters, I say this: rise up, organize yourselves, educate yourselves, and raise your voices. Never let anyone decide your destiny in your place. Every citizen, every young person, every responsible leader must understand that our unity is our most powerful weapon, and together this unity will become the force that will protect our peoples against any foreign or regional interference. Goma is a warning, but this warning can become a message of hope, a message that we Africans can transform into strength, into solidarity, and into justice. Every lost life, every broken family, every attacked city becomes an additional reason to unite and to claim what is just. Paul Kagame, know this: we will no longer be complicit in silence. We will no longer be passive witnesses to injustice. Your bloody hand in Goma will not remain unpunished, and every time you think to manipulate the peoples, awakened Africa will remind you of its strength and its dignity. Brothers and sisters of Africa, the hour is no longer for divisions, the hour is for action, the hour is for truth. Africa must rise, defend itself, and protect its children, and together we will build a continent where justice, peace, and unity will always prevail. Paul Kagame, listen to me once again. Today, I am not speaking in generalities. I am speaking of facts, of responsibility, of consequences. We have seen together what happened in Goma, the violence, the attacks, the forced displacements, the fear. We have seen how your choices and your alliances have fueled suffering and weakened the DRC. Every action you have conducted to manipulate, control, or intimidate has left scars on human lives, and these scars will never disappear as long as the truth is not recognized. I say it clearly: you are responsible for the strategies that have destroyed families, responsible for the decisions that have plunged cities into chaos, responsible for the fear that has reigned in Goma. And this responsibility will not remain hidden. Awakened Africa reminds you today, but this is not only a moment of accusation, it is a moment of action, because Africa can no longer wait. Africa can no longer remain passive. We must rise up, unite, and claim justice. We must protect our peoples, our lands, and our future. To all Africans, I say look at what is happening in Goma and understand the message. Every interference, every attempt at domination, every manipulation against our peoples is a warning signal. We must respond with strength, with dignity, and with unity. Paul Kagame, know this. Your strategies will only reinforce our determination. Every attempt to divide the African people will now encounter the awakened soul of this continent. Every injustice will be denounced, every crime will be exposed, and every stolen life will find its voice. Goma is no longer only a city struck by war. Goma has become a symbol of our awakening, of our vigilance, and of our strength. And I tell you, Kagame, your bloody hand in Goma will not remain unpunished. Brothers and sisters of Africa, the hour is grave, but hope is real. Unity is our weapon, truth is our shield, and justice is our goal. Together, we can transform pain into strength, suffering into action, and injustice into victory for our continent. Kagame, today I no longer speak only in terms of reproach, I speak in terms of solution, of response, and of future. Goma has shown us a simple truth. Africa can no longer allow leaders or external interests to dictate the fate of our peoples. Every injustice calls for a response, every interference calls for a reaction. And this reaction is the unity, the vigilance, and the collective action of all Africans. Here is what we, the African people, must do. Conscience and truth. Expose publicly every fact, every proof, every responsibility. The truth must circulate and illuminate the dark zones where violence and manipulation prosper. Solidarity between African nations. No country should suffer alone the consequences of interference. We must support each other, share information, and act together to defend our peoples. Mobilization of youth. Our young people are our greatest strength. They must be educated, organized, prepared to defend the justice and dignity of our continent. Justice and accountability. Those who have caused suffering in Goma, those who have manipulated, instrumentalized war must answer for their acts. The international community must see, understand, and act. Paul Kagame, know this, your maneuvers will not remain without consequence on the international level. The world is watching. The truth about Goma will be known, and you will be held accountable not only before Africa, but before history. But this is not only a warning, it is a call to action, a call to every African who believes in the justice and dignity of our continent. Do not remain passive. Raise your voices, mobilize your communities, educate and protect your people. Africa must rise and show its strength. Goma is a symbol of pain, but also of awakening. Every tear, every cry, every lost life becomes today a reason to unite and to fight for justice. Kagame, understand this. Your acts will only reinforce our determination, and we will not stop until every injustice has been exposed and every voice heard. Brothers and sisters of Africa, the hour has come, the hour of unity, of mobilization, and of vigilance. Together, we can transform this tragedy into a historic movement of justice, of truth, and of solidarity. And this is what we will do. Paul Kagame, I now address a force that you cannot control, the African youth. You may have believed that silence, fear, and manipulation could continue to reign. You believed that the new generations would remain passive, but you were wrong. The African youth is awakening. They see what you have done in Goma. They see the injustices, the displacements, the broken lives, and they will not remain silent. I address all the young people of Africa. Your energy, your intelligence, and your courage are our most powerful weapons. Educate yourselves, organize yourselves, and refuse that external interests or personal ambitions determine your future. Every action, every peaceful protest, every local initiative becomes a light that illuminates the truth and denounces injustice. Paul Kagame, understand this. Impunity belongs to the past. Crimes against Africa will no longer remain unpunished, neither regionally nor internationally. Those who have caused suffering in Goma and in other regions of the continent will have to be held accountable. We will no longer let African lives be sacrificed for the thirst for power or greed. To the international community, I say this. Africa no longer accepts injustice disguised as diplomacy. Truth must prevail over complicit silence. The African peoples stand upright, conscious of their history, of their dignity, and of their strengths. We will no longer accept that foreign or regional leaders impose their interests at the expense of our peoples. Brothers and sisters, rise up. The African youth is no longer passive. Every citizen, every responsible leader, every African conscious of their duty must mobilize. The unity of our continent is our weapon. Truth is our shield, and justice will be our victory. Goma is a reminder that the past must not repeat itself, a reminder that every injustice calls for a collective response. Kagame, your actions will never stop us. They will only reinforce our determination to protect Africa and its peoples. Paul Kagame, listen to me once again. What you have done in Goma is not only a crime against a city, a people, or a state. It is an affront to all of Africa, and this affront demands a response worthy of the dignity of our continent. Brothers and sisters of Africa, today more than ever, we must understand that fear and silence are the worst enemies of our unity. Every moment where we let injustice prosper without reacting is a moment lost for our future. But it is never too late. Never. Paul Kagame, know that your maneuvers will not intimidate us. We have seen your strategies, we have seen your alliances, we have seen your manipulations, and we denounce them. But we go further. We transform this denunciation into action. To the African youth, I say be courageous. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting despite fear. Courage is rising up and defending justice, truth, and the honor of our continent. Every gesture, every word, every mobilization counts. To all Africans, I say resist. Resist those who seek to divide us. Resist those who use violence and manipulation to impose their will. Resist with intelligence, with solidarity, with perseverance. Goma is our awakening. Goma is our signal. And Paul Kagame, you must understand this. We will never retreat. We will never be complicit in injustice, and every action of violence that you have orchestrated will not remain unpunished. Brothers and sisters, let us raise our voices. Let us raise our hands. Let us raise our hearts for every lost life, for every injustice suffered, for every hidden truth. We must stand upright. Africa is rising. Africa is defending itself. Africa will never bend before fear nor before manipulation. Kagame, listen to me attentively. What you have done in Goma is not an isolated incident. It is a model of manipulation, of interference, and of violence that threatens all of Central Africa and beyond. Goma is not alone. There are other cities, other peoples, other families who have suffered the consequences of your influence and your alliances. The DRC, Burundi, Rwanda itself, and even some neighboring countries have felt the effects of your strategy, and each time the same victims, innocent civilian populations, powerless in the face of the ambitions of a single man or a small group. Paul Kagame, your actions cannot remain hidden. Your crimes cannot remain unpunished. We Africans refuse impunity. We refuse that leaders or regional powers play with the destiny of our peoples for personal or political gains. I now speak to all of Africa. We have the responsibility to protect our continent, to defend our peoples, and to claim justice. Justice is not only national, it is regional and international. Every crime must be denounced before the entire world. Every proof must be known. Every voice must be heard. To the African youth, to our conscious leaders, to every citizen, never underestimate the power of truth. When we stand together, informed, united, and determined, no tyrant, no interference, no strategy of manipulation can hold. Africa is rising, and it will always do so. Goma is a symbol of courage and awakening. Every tear shed, every cry of injustice is a call to action. And Paul Kagame, you must hear this. Your acts will only reinforce our determination to protect Africa and to demand justice for every victim. Brothers and sisters, let us rise up. Let the truth circulate. Let solidarity grow. Let unity become our most powerful weapon, and together we will ensure that history remembers that Africa never let itself be crushed by injustice.